welcome back to the show. Now, today we've got a really exciting guest on, and most men, I think now, especially now I've hit the age of 40, either kind of dress like they've given up completely or they're trying far, far too hard. Very few land in that rare middle ground where the shirt fits perfectly, the fabric is fresh and new, and nothing is really screaming for applause. I stumbled across Christian Lawler on Instagram, the founder of Kempt in Dublin, and I thought, here's a man who really understands understated elegance. It looks masculine, but it also looks expensive. Kempt deals in essentials of proper shirts, clean lines, and the sort of garments that suggest you own books and even a small piece of land. So today we're going to talk about taste, discipline, and about why doing less, but importantly, can be a lot more important to look impeccable. It's infinitely harder than peacocking around in the seasonal styles. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Maison Gent podcast, and today here is Christian Lawler of Kempt. Hello, Christian.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks so much for coming straight to us. Christian, we're going to just kick it straight off. Where did you grow up and where did home feel like to you?
So I was born in Dublin. I've lived in Dublin all my life. In what would now be pretty much considered part of the city or the greater city, but was a bit more countryside at the time. And then I moved into the actual city centre as around 2002, and I've lived there in the heart of Dublin for most of my life. Yeah,
fantastic. So now Dublin's really close to my heart. Tell us a little bit about your childhood home growing up in Dublin.
I'm actually an only child, but was fortunate where we lived. There was plenty of new young families that had just moved into the area as well. So I was never short for friends or people to play with when I was younger. And thankfully some of them are, we're still very close today. But my childhood growing up, I would have to say it was pretty basic, pretty standard. Thankfully, my parents, they were there for me all the time. And my dad is actually in the menswear business also from an agent's point of view or side. And that's where I actually ended up. That was my entry into the business was in the agency side. And then just one thing led to another. I just really, like anything, you got to listen to your heart, and I've followed that all the way through my career and to where I am today.
I'm with you, and I know this is a crass question, but what did money mean in your house when you were growing up?
We weren't a poor family by any stretch of the imagination, but it wasn't exceptionally wealthy either. I remember lovely holidays growing up. We traveled. I was skiing in the 80s in Austria. We were in Marbella in the 80s as well. So it wasn't extravagant by any means, but it certainly wasn't, or at least that I experienced. Maybe I don't know what was going on in the background, but no, it wasn't a challenging upbringing anyway.
Was there any experiences in your early childhood that you think really shaped how you see risk now?
No. I mean, to be honest with you, where I am now in life is I'm very happy. Kempt has been and it is a big contributor, a huge contributor to it. It's amazing what when you do follow your heart and your dreams, what it leads to. Even sitting here chatting to you today. But that only came in my late 30s. I'd say my early life was a bit underwhelming to some degree.
Who do you think influenced your ambition the most? You've kind of mentioned your dad and that he was in fashion. Is he still working with you? Is your dad still around?
He's still around. He's kind of coming to the end now. But that's quite an interesting question, because in my day job, we call it, like on the agency side, I found that where I was working and who I was working with, it was very much this sort of little bubble of Irish menswear. And it was really with the birth of social media and platforms like Tumblr and then later on Instagram, where I remember seeing a photograph or come across some information on a store called the Armory in Hong Kong. And I just thought, wow, I'd known about, let's say, the luxury department store we have in Dublin is called Brown Thomas. It's a super store. Right? We're fortunate. We're a supplier of theirs. Have been for the last maybe going on 3 years now. But I knew about Selfridges. I knew about like the Ralph Lauren store, we'll say, in London, which are all super stores. But then I came across this one in Hong Kong, and I just thought, wow. There was some, I suppose, awakening there to say that there's a whole other world outside of menswear out there. And I really liked it, like coming across brands such as that I admire today, like Drake's, or these sort of brands I'd never heard of before. They weren't mainstream brands. You always heard about Gant's or Ralph Lauren's or Tommy Hilfiger's, these sort of brands. But I realized that there was a whole other world of, premium menswear that was just for me. I don't know why it clicked with me, but it was just a hell of a lot more interesting than everything else. And it was really kind of following on from that with Instagram. Definitely, Instagram's been it's our main driver. It's all we have. We're not really set up to do wholesale. We're changing slightly in the future, but if it wasn't for Instagram, we wouldn't be able to have done and achieved what we've achieved. But it was that whole thing of on Instagram, one product leading to another, to a person. Yeah, it was really, we talk about a lot on our profile, brown suede shoes. I love them. I'm wearing them for 25, maybe 30 years. I bought my first pair in Crockett and Jones in German Street in their old shop. Um, but no one else that I knew wore brown suede shoes, especially at that sort of price point. They're a very London thing. They're a very Mayfair, West End sort of look. It's slowly creeping into Dublin now, but back then, when I found out about all these other people who's dressed like that, it was a real kind of eye-opening moment for me.
Tell us about what you're building now and why you're building it.
It was one of those moments where it was a really, really nervous time. It was during COVID, and I just knew I wanted to do something. And without any arrogance or cockiness, I just thought, something, that's what they're doing over there. I could do. I have a certain amount of contacts in the industry, and let's give it a try. The world's been turned upside down in 2020 and 2021. So myself and my colleague Ingrid, we started off with a small batch of shirts and trousers from actually long story, but it turned out to be from China first. They're really the only ones manufacturing at the time. Europe was pretty much shut down. And I've always followed, anything that goes into Kempt is something that I would wear. We never, try and create something because it's in trend or on trend at the moment. That I wouldn't wear. It has to be something that I like and I feel comfortable in. So we did white shirts, we did white Oxfords, we did blue Oxfords, Bengals. I would have worn all those types of pieces. However, that wasn't the only reason we did them. Probably the main reason was they were all products and styles that weren't going to date. We knew when we launched, we're not going to be shifting, 10 or 15 or 20 shirts a week. So these things had to, for anyone that doesn't know, in the textile industry or the clothing industry, it's very, very seasonal. Excuse me, there's a phone in the background. It's very, very seasonal. Brands and shops, they sell off. They have to sell off at the end of the season their leftover stock. We couldn't afford to do that, so we decided to concentrate on core products like that. So the reason for that is, number one, I liked them, and number two, they needed some set of longevity. The first batch came in. There was issues with sizes. There's still issues. We're still tweaking, and we're hoping now for the spring 26 batch to be delivered. The final kind of tweak in our fit is going to be on the armhole here. We found it's a little bit too narrow at the moment, and even though the sleeve length is perfect, if I move my arms out to the front, it's pulling. That's really where we are with the product at the moment. We're just trying to refine the fits, the quality, the styling is pretty much there. It's really, we just want to produce something that from the moment someone receives it, that they say wow when they open the box or the package, and then there's another wow when they touch the fabric, and then later on, after it's been washed and ironed numerous times, that we always love people to maybe say to themselves, Jesus, this I've had this a long time. It's really it's standing up well. It's in fact it's getting better with age. And yeah, it's money. For anyone listening, do not go into the textile industry if you're looking to make money quickly. It doesn't happen, and it's certainly not a driver of ours. It's we do it for the product.
And who's it for? Who's your ideal customer?
So, when we started, we did one of these, spider diagrams, or, what person is this? And kind of in our heads, it wasn't necessarily Irish, an Irish guy. There's a certain trend over here, and he was European. He was maybe a professional in the creative industry. One of these people that I love people watching. I love to sit in big hub European airports and watch the world go by. So he was maybe someone mainland Europe, maybe German or Scandinavian, and he loved the classic things. He wasn't about fashion. He was a good clothes horse. Like, he looked well in the gear, probably enjoyed, if he invested well into his clothing. He also was choosy about the coffee he drank, or the beer he drank, or the luggage he carried. For us, it doesn't stop at the clothing. If you like us, there's a very, very good chance that you are you like investing in good pieces, so good luggage, good shoes, good furniture for your home. It's not, it doesn't just stop at that, and vice versa. People that love to invest in good furniture in their home, they generally want to wear nice clothes as well, and use nice luggage and nice glassware. Yeah, they've got an eye for it, and that's sort of who the type of person we originally earmarked, and thankfully from social media. And not everyone has an open social media account. A lot of people are private, so we don't follow back. We can't follow back a lot of people. But judging from the people that we see and can interact with, don't ask me how we did it. That was our plan to do it, but we seem to have hit those people. I don't know why or how.
No, I think you did. And I think it comes across in your aesthetic. You briefly touched when you started that.
Oh yeah. I just wanted to say, quite early in the time when we had launched, let's say about 6 or 8 months into it, this was a real kind of thumbs up that we had hit the right person and we were doing the right thing. A customer from the UK actually emailed us to say that he had received his shirt or shirts, I can't remember, and he was off downtown to treat himself to a Submariner, a Rolex Submariner, to go with the shirt. And I thought, well, I think I typed back quick and I said, please don't, bankrupt yourself on just to fit into some image. But from an early stage on, this particular person had associated the Rolex Submariner with his Kempt purchase. So yeah, hopefully he's sitting there somewhere this weekend with his nice Rolex on his watch and his Kempt shirt on his back.
I hope it was
strange
from you.
One, yeah.
Is there anything along the way that's nearly broken you or given you like an oh shit moment where you've thought, I think I've made a mistake?
Yeah, so I get the oh shit moments. Myself and Ingrid, we had them this week. There's always oh shit moments, but an early one would have been, I mentioned that department store, Brown Thomas in Dublin, and at an early stage we were, sales were very much tipping away. Nothing extravagant. And there was days, maybe you got a few orders on Monday, but then there wasn't anything Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Also, you were trying to cross check who they were coming from. Are they friends and family? Are they a friend of a friend? And it was almost a sign of success when you got your first order that wasn't friends and family, wasn't a friend of a friend or someone who knew. So during this period anyway, there was one particularly dry week, let's call it. And I remember myself and Ingrid going, Jesus, have we made a mistake here? Because, what's going on? And that day I got an email I opened it up. The heading was, do you do wholesale? And I thought it was, over in the UK there, where you are, around the Manchester area and stuff like that, there's a lot of people that maybe would buy up old stock and things like that. And I thought it was, one of these people looking to, get cheap gear in bulk. And I was just about to reply no. And I saw the domain name was brownthomas.com. And I thought, wow, okay, here's something. So they wanted us to be a supplier of theirs. Initially, I said, we don't do wholesale, but we will do wholesale for you because it's it would be a shop window for us. So that, that was a time where we were very much doubting ourselves, and, something literally out of the blue came along to give us, a thumbs up to say, I like what you guys are doing. We'd love to have you in our shop. And this shop you're talking about, it has the finest brands in the whole world. And I actually know firsthand that there's brands in there that would love to be in there that can't get into the store. And here we are in it at such an early time. But the oh shit moments continue all the time. When you're working with factories and you always seem to be up against something, delivery dates, timings. Maybe the fabric mill is late getting into the factory, then the factory is closed for holidays, and these knock-on effects, they're challenging to deal with. But you just gotta get over it and just keep moving on.
Would you say it's harder starting, surviving, or scaling in the market that you're in today?
Thankfully, we still have a lot of fun every week with the brand, but I would say the most fun bit is the start. It's the planning, it's the dreaming, the daydreaming of where this could go. If this clicks, we could be doing this, we could be doing that, and that's a lot of fun. The reality is when you're up and running and you got to kind of keep it there and keep it running and grow it and scale it, as you said, that's when, the fun can go out of it at times, and it does get more stressful and challenging. But I think as long as you can understand that it's not going to, anything, that's worth doing, it's not going to be easy. And no one out there that's running a similar setup or operation is finding it easy. They're having challenges and challenging times and days also.
If someone came to you and there was like a young kid, have you got kids yourself?
I do, yeah. I do have a daughter at 18 and a son at 14.
Okay, let's imagine your daughter came to you and said, Dad, by some mysterious thing that didn't involve you, I've just landed 50 grand. What should I do with my 50 grand? Do you think I should start a business with this 50 grand? What advice are you giving her?
I suppose from where I'm standing now, I was 49 last year, so I'll turn 50 this year. So I think the older you get, the more you really it comes home to roost how this is not a practice round that we're doing here. This is the real deal, and we only got one chance. You know, there was huge doubts for me and Ingrid when we were starting, but the one thing I did not want, I was adamant that when I was on my deathbed, that I said I wonder would that have worked. Whether it worked or not was irrelevant, but you do it. So if someone came to it, if my daughter came to me with the 50 grand, 50 grand's a lot of money. So you don't want to squander it. But if her heart was truly behind something and she really wanted to do it, I would absolutely say you should do it, because you never want to have any, least as little regrets as possible in life. And life just goes so fast.
Just going to hit you with some quick fire ones. There's no right or wrong answers. These are more just like instinct to what feels right or what you've done on your journey with Kempt. So would you rather scale fast or build slow?
Definitely build slow.
Would you rather control everything or empower others?
I am certainly very quick to raise my hand when I need help. I think it's very important that you do understand that you can't do it on your own.
And would you rather have safe growth or take a bold risk?
I think some sort of risk is necessary at times.
Profit or impact?
Profit is necessary to survive, but it's not everything. If you're growing slowly, you need the impact as well.
I honestly think you've built something truly incredible, and I hope that anyone listening to this can come across and look at your Instagram and buy directly from you. I think that you've got a kind of effortless elegance, a style and a cool which is not there in every brand, and
Thank you very much.
and the attention that you obviously put in to the fabric, sourcing the fabric, getting the fit right. People underestimate so much of this, and they look online and people aren't building in all of that to the price. I actually think you're very well priced, by the way, for the quality that you are pushing out. But when all the blueprints fade, what is the foundation or the thing that you want to be remembered for?
That good piece of product that someone bought, and maybe be remembered for the guy who put that on the market and didn't try and scale fast, was more interested in the product being right than making a quick buck, because it's not what we're about. And look, I think that comes back to, we were fortunate enough to have a day job, so there was never in the existence of Kempt, there was never that hard sell. We never had to shift 100 shirts a week or whatever it was. And I think that is one of it's very much in the DNA of the brand to be able to go slow like that.
You've got some great stuff coming out. I saw earlier that you're now launching knitwear, and like anything, launching something new always feels hard. What does the next 12 months, 5 years look for you guys at Kempt? Is there anything I saw? Maybe is there like chinos that are in the pipeline? What are you pushing for? What's next?
Yeah, so we have knitwear arriving next week. It's from Scotland. It's very much, I've followed the likes of Nicholas Coleridge in the UK, and even your own King Charles, they're both advocates of the British wool and wool in general. So again, sticking to the DNA of Kempt, we only want to use and work with the best, the best fabric mills we can work with, the best production we can work with, the best shoes in Crockett and Jones. When we decided to introduce knitwear, we wanted to do really, really good knitwear, and I think we've landed upon it. It's not going to be cheap, but nothing worth of that quality is going to be cheap. You mentioned the chino. I'm actually in a factory next week, and yeah, we're developing a chino to introduce, I would like to say, early summer.
Perfect.
What's the future for Kempt? We will continue to hone our fits and on our shirts. Actually, I think we've finished with that now. We can park that with the next production to grow the name as a quality, to be associated with quality, and to introduce the knitwear. Retail is actually one for hopefully this year, maybe a little 70 square meter unit, but it has to be the right unit. It has to be in the right location. I don't think a shopping center, that sort of setup is part of who we are. So, and unfortunately finding that right unit is in the right location is actually quite difficult. But yeah, we're constantly asked from people, when, do you have a store? We've a great following in the US, and we get a lot of people from the US who are maybe visiting Europe or visiting Ireland to say, do you have a store? I'd really love to come and visit. So it's, if you were to look back at the clues, it's very obvious that people would support us with a standalone store.
You did a little pop-up. Have
Yeah.
you got any more pop-ups planned that are happening this year before potentially the opening of a retail store?
Yeah, we'd like to do a spring. I mean, the pop-up was great. It was very, very humbling to see the support that we got. There were 3 horrendous. We did a Thursday to a Sunday. The Thursday, Friday, Saturday were 3 horrendous days weather-wise here in Dublin with rain. You would just, I was questioning why are people making this effort to come out and see us? But they did. So for this year, we'd like to do a spring pop-up. We'd love to do the autumn one again, and we do have a couple of places earmarked. But really, what we're waiting on now is to get the spring shirt production in, the knitwear in, probably the chino will take a little bit longer. But once we have that freshness in the collection, which will hopefully be the end of next month, end of March, we'll start to see that come true.
Beautiful.
There were some delays in Portugal. We can then do the pop-up. So we did 1 pop-up last year. I'd like to maybe think we could do 3 this year. Between spring, summer, and maybe autumn. Be very welcome. We'll look after you.
In fashion at the minute, there seems to be so much now where people are collaborating, different brands and different things, bringing each thing to the table. We obviously know that you sell Crockett & Jones, probably the best English footwear brand that's out there. Rolex
Totally.
and Tudor both feature on some of your photographs, again, from probably what you own and stuff like that. Are there any brands that you would love to collaborate with out there?
I think for a brand like Kempt, it's that collaboration is very important for us because we're so young. So both product and people. The Crockett and Jones thing was, Crockett and Jones, if anything, they don't deal with digital only suppliers or customers. And if anything, they're trying to, maybe pull back a little from the wholesale so they can concentrate on their own digital and their own stores. So to get the nod, if you want to call it from like that, from them to say, we don't do this, but we're going to give you a go and see how it goes. That was a huge, it was a huge pat on the back for us. But it also means that the association that a UK business that's that old holds the royal warrants that they hold is happy to associate their name with us is amazing. We partnered with a little restaurant in Dublin last year called Forest Avenue, and we supplied we dressed the team, from the chefs to the floor staff, in this denim. We just tweaked it. They wanted a grandfather collar. They thought the normal collar was just too cumbersome in the kitchen. They actually, Michelin did the awards in Dublin this year, only about 2-3 weeks ago, and they happened to get their first star. Again, that restaurant is where a lot of very, very well-heeled Dublin people eat at the weekend or special occasions. To have that association, that business, that John and Sandy in Forest Avenue were happy to associate themselves with us, again, was huge. It just I think it solidifies or strengthens a young brand like ourselves to be that people of that caliber are giving you the thumbs up and are happy for you to be associated with them. As for a brand who we'd like to collaborate with, I think for the moment we haven't really looked there because we're quite limited on the amount of stuff we can get through online. I think maybe if it did go into a standalone situation, we could bring in more outerwear, more maybe sports jackets or blazers, these sort of things. But you would need to be in a physical location. But as far I've a lot of brands that I'm very fond of and like myself. So maybe come that time we can look at approaching someone.
If someone is watching this and listening to this and loves the idea of all your stuff, where would they find you? How could they reach out and how can they buy from you?
So we get all sorts of methods of contact. We're on www.kemptwear. So it's KEMPTWEAR.com. We wanted a .com address and Kempt itself was gone. So we stuck the wear in there. Our social media is at Kemptwear on Instagram. And you can DM us on that. You can send it in hello@kemptwear.com, excuse me, for email. Or I think somewhere on the website is actually my phone number. It's something we always want to be very transparent. It's about to have a website, an online business. So the address of the where we are is on there. And I think there's a phone number on there, just to be as transparent as we can. It gives more of a trust and more of a feeling of safety for anyone that's going to potentially hand over their hard-earned money to buy something. I think it's better if they know that that there actually is someone in the background. So any of those ways is
and if someone's going to reach out this summer, this spring, and say like, okay, I'm going to buy my first piece of menswear, what's the best one to start with? Is it the denim shirt? Is it the Oxford? What's the best seller? What do you think everyone naturally looks best in?
probably our best-selling shirts have to be either one of the denims. They both sell pretty, like for like, or the plain blue Oxford. You cannot beat a plain blue Oxford. If someone's coming in for the first time for the summertime, we've some beautiful linens arriving shortly, and I had a prototype over last week just for fit, and it's really, really sharp looking. So maybe for the time of year, get straight into a linen. You can't beat it.
I agree. I think that sounds perfect. Christian, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I'm in awe of what you've built, actually. It's a really beautiful and timeless menswear brand. And I really hope and think that you'll go from strength to strength. I'll be supporting you. And I hope all the listeners can reach out and support you and your business. So thanks so much for your time, Christian. Been a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you, Phil. Likewise.
Thank you so much. See you soon. Bye-bye.